So first of all, I wanted to welcome everyone to this presentation tonight. I'm Maureen Karwowski. I am the Vice President of Clinical Services at Easterseals, DuPage, and Fox Valley. Tonight we're going to be talking about supporting our children's development during this pandemic time. These times are challenging in every area of life, and for those of us who are parents or providers of services for children, this is a time when we really need to dig deep and have discussions like these. So joining us tonight is Theresa Forthafer, who is the President and CEO of Easterseals DuPage. Theresa comes to us with more than 30 years of experience working with individuals with disabilities. In addition to that, she is the mother of 3 young adult children, 2 of whom have special needs, so this offers us a unique perspective. Our first presenter is Dr. Smith from the University of Chicago, and you can see his background shows that he's from the University of Chicago. His clinical work includes serving children with intellectual disabilities such as Down syndrome, autism, complex medical conditions, ADHD, learning disabilities, and behavioral difficulties. Dr. Smith serves as the medical director at Almost Home Kids, at the Sonia Shankman Orthogenic School, and at the Illinois Center for Rehabilitation and Education. In addition to all of these other opportunities, he finds time to dedicate 1 day a week for us at Easterseals DuPage at Villa Park, where he serves as the director of our medical diagnostic clinic. He does want us to know that his most important role is that of a husband to his wife and father to his 4 children. He has quite a busy life. So following that, we will hear from Vickie Robinson, developmental therapist. She comes to us with extensive experience in working with children from birth and then all the way through early childhood. Vickie is an early intervention specialist, and she works in a home with children birth to 3. She uses a play-based therapy model to help children develop cognitive, language, social, emotional, motor skills, as well as self-help skills. In addition to Vickie's early intervention work, she offers support to our inclusive daycare at Easterseals DuPage and Fox Valley. She serves as a board member to the YWCA's Early Head Start program, and she's an active volunteer in our church community. She also enjoys going on many adventures with her husband and 2 daughters. At Easterseals DuPage, we see nearly 1,000 children per week at our 3 sites. We have clinics in Villa Park, in Elgin, and in Naperville, and provide services for children birth through young adulthood. We see children in their homes if they are through the early intervention program, so that would be children birth to 3, and then after that we would see them in our clinics. We have provided teletherapy for many years, and now with the pandemic, we've been able to adapt our services so that we can provide a hybrid approach for our clients. We are able to offer some teletherapy and some in-person therapy, depending on the child's needs and the family's needs. So I think with that, we'll get started. We welcome anyone to use a chat box to ask questions, and that'll be monitored. At the end, we'll have plenty of opportunity to ask questions, and the experts on the panel can address those. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Dr. Smith.
Thank you very much, Maureen. I appreciate that introduction. The questions that were sent to me ahead of time had a lot to do with how do we cope during this time. This is, of course, a unique moment in world history, and I think it's crucial that we have some kind of guideposts to guide us both as parents and as professionals during this unprecedented time. I would like to speak to 3 different ones that I think that I've shared a lot with my patients and their families. And I was pleased to find that they're similar to some of the guidelines that the AAP have now produced, and there's a link that I've recommended, as well as I was able to be at a presentation this weekend with David Schoenfeld, who's one of the leaders in our field nationally, and he came up with a similar set of rules. So I think that we now have some of a consensus in the field. And I'd say those 3 rules or guideposts or frames of reference. The first and most important is that we have to lower expectations. lower expectations to ourselves, for our children, for the educating community. This is an unprecedented time, and we're all going through a great deal of personal stress and family stress and community stress. And I think we have to recognize that for ourselves, our families, and our communities, and including our educational communities. And I think that being able to do that and being able to take that first step will allow the other things that we do to be kind of captured within a framework that is reasonable. The second thing that we need to do is, I think that we need to see the children that we're serving, either in our families or as professionals, within the developmental framework. I think that there's going to be no one size that fits all. And I think that having frameworks of different life epics, different developmental epics, can help us to think about what are the needs of children at different stages of their lives. And that goes especially true for children who have known needs, known special needs, but it's true across all children. And our expectations for our high school students versus our elementary school students versus our early childhood students, they're just going to be different. Different in terms of their ability to interact with technology and their ability to sit still. And so we're going to have to adapt in that level. And so one size will not fit all. And then the third rule is, I think that we have to be resilient and really see this as an opportunity to maybe cut back a bit on our academic learning, especially for the children who are in elementary school and younger, and really focus on developing skills like resilience and skills that have to do with coping. That it's absolutely the case that we're in a different time period, and the curricula and the way that we present the curricula in academic and developmental settings has to take that into account. And so we have to recognize the technology that we're using and the goals that we have got to force us to thinking not in old ways, but in new ways. And it'll require a great deal of creativity, and it requires a great deal of sort of continuous change. I know my practice over the last 6 to 9 months has undergone changes, and it's required me and others to rethink what we're doing from early intervention all the way up to college. And I think that those three things, that is recognizing the limits of ourselves and the world around us, recognizing the developmental stage of the children we're talking about, and recognizing that we're going to have to adapt and change over time as the COVID changes and the pandemic changes, are crucial. And specifically in that group, teaching our children to have resilience, to cope, I think is going to really rise to the top of our goals. And I think that those are some of the guideposts that I would put forward, and I think nationally it's put forward. As I mentioned, healthychildren.org is a program the AAP has put together to give helpful and evidence-based medicine directly to families. And I'd strongly recommend for people who have specific questions to go to that. There's some very good COVID-related articles. Damien Korb, a friend, wrote an excellent article about the different developmental stages and specifics about each stage when we're in this period of remote learning, or at least hybrid learning, and gave some, I think, some very practical tips that are useful. For people who are looking at developmental stages of children in general, they have a great, before the COVID, they developed an ages and stages tab, and then within that you can click on to the infant years and beyond. So I think it's a very good resource that I would encourage people to go to. Thank you, Maureen.
Okay, I don't see any questions, so then I think we can move on to Vicki. She can share with us from her perspective as a developmental therapist.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, Dr. Smith, for that nice, simple three steps. I really liked that. In my work with young children and families, I've seen a lot of needs. I've seen a lot of resilience, and I've seen a lot of parents just doing their best to kind of meet their kids' needs. So today, my focus is going to be more on, how we can help our kids, how we can help families if we're serving families through therapy, kind of move through their day. Things that I found very essential would be, keeping that nice schedule that you have. You've probably, it's been 6 to 9 months now, so I'm sure that there's a nice established schedule, and kids really need that routine. They really need that sense of safety and security, so keeping that schedule. And then another really important piece is that physical activity piece. So, kids are at home more, they're not traveling, they're not walking to school. So finding ways to go outside, finding ways to move inside. Erin is going to link a lot of different websites for you to come up with ideas to do yoga, Pilates, stretching, dancing with your kids at home. And that's really helpful in terms of helping kids move and stay healthy. Part of being home more is just having time with your kids. So, finding ways to connect that you might not have had before is a gift. So, spending time on the floor, looking through your toys, maybe hiding half of them and leaving out the other half. So, really engaging with your kids, spending time with them, understanding what they're going through, helping with that coping that makes you available to hearing how they're doing with school, how they're doing with, friends or missing friends. So, staying connected that way. I've had a few questions from parents regarding, how to support the social emotional development of their child who's spending a lot of time on the screen. And I think my biggest takeaway that I've heard, in terms of working with professionals is just kind of making an effort to not be on a screen when you don't have to be. So, when school is over, dust off the old board games or, play card games and interact with your kids in a new way that is not screen dependent. So at Easterseals, we have quite a few resources in terms of support for social emotional development. And I just kind of wanted to highlight those for you guys in terms of what you can be doing at home. So if you're interested in monitoring your child's development, just to make sure they're on track, we have the Ages and Stages Questionnaire link on our website. So there's a social emotional specific questionnaire where you can kind of track and monitor the social emotional wellness of your child. And then there's an overall global development screener. So you can kind of fill out that questionnaire and it will let you know if your kid is on track or if, you should be focusing on some skills. At Easterseals, we also provide free developmental screenings. So you would there will be a link, I think, in our chat box, but a way to connect with us, and we can set that up, and then you would meet one-on-one with me, developmental therapist, just to talk about your child's development. And then if you have more concerns, there are, all of the supports that were here before COVID are still, working. So early intervention, we provide early intervention services at Easterseals, and wherever you are, they will be providing early intervention services as well, both through teletherapy and then in person, depending on your child and your family's needs. And, then there's the school district. So if your child is from 3 to 5, then you would call your local school district for screening, and they could tell you if your child could benefit from more services.
So Vicki, I just wanted to add that if anyone is interested in a free screening through Easterseals DuPage, they can contact info@eastersealsdfvr.org for a free screening. That will be on the chat, that link, but just so you know.
Perfect. Thanks.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
There it is.
We did have a question. Is this a good time for a question, Vicki?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a question for either Dr. Smith or for Vicki. The question was, what are some strategies for building resilience in children? I mean, this is a time when everyone needs to build resilience, adult or child alike.
Sure, I think that I have some thoughts, and I'd love to hear Vicki's too. I would say two different things are opportunities now. One is talking about it, specifically talking about our own feelings and giving children the chance to talk about their feelings. So, if a parent notices their child is angry, being able to put a word to that and say, you look like you're angry. and helping them to actually label their feelings. That's a very useful tool for children as they grow and develop. Or you look like you're anxious, or you look like you're feeling sad, or labeling other people's feelings, feelings in TV shows or other family members, and recognizing that negative feelings are not a bad thing. So that would be the second thing that I offer to parents, and that is that some human experiences are uncomfortable but not necessarily unhealthy. And it's sometimes, for me, it's working out. It's very uncomfortable. I don't like to do it, but it's a healthy thing to do. And so sometimes having uncomfortable feelings, people want to avoid it and kind of, to resist or try to prevent. And sometimes getting through them and walking through them with the child, but giving them comfort and support is a way to do that. So when they're on the other side of it, they realize that negative feeling isn't going to necessarily stop them. And that's part of every human life. Those are just two simple ways to start with, but there are many others, and I'm sure Vicki has thoughts.
Yeah, the thing I would add, in terms of that resiliency piece is the being with. So we have a unique opportunity to be with our kids a lot more, and just the walking alongside them, playing alongside them. A lot of times some of these insecurities or tough things might come up. And then, allowing that challenge. So, I'm a big fan of, walking with your child, helping them to do hard things, letting them feel challenged, but then walking alongside. So you're not leaving them in it. You're trying hard things together, and then you're discussing kind of how this situation went. We will add another link in the chat to 0 to 3 has a lot of really great books. So literacy, I love reading books about kids who have hard times. So reading books alongside kids is really helpful as well.
So we have another question that was in the chat, and the question is about the importance of therapy, even if it's virtual versus face-to-face, and assisting families with that. And I do also think that there might be some people wanting to know about how to assist kids with virtual learning if they're in early childhood or grade school. So if either of you had thoughts about that.
Sure, I'll give you my thoughts. My first thought is that yes, virtual therapies can be quite effective for some families. Now, there's a lot of variability from what I said before, and variability on ages and all. But I think we've all learned from this that when we do adapt and do come to grips with the new place that we're all in, we can develop systems that work. And I think there are, through telehealth, I've been able to reach out to families and kind of be in their house and be with them in ways that actually are superior to some of the clinical work that I've done before. And I think telehealth is here to stay. I think there are some benefits for it, especially certain families in certain times and places. So I definitely think that that's true. In terms of e-learning, I think, as was said earlier, cutting down on other screen time is important. Another recommendation that's come out is that, especially for the earlier children, or the younger children, having a dedicated screen that's just for learning, that's not used for entertainment, so that when the children get on it, there's this understanding that this is work, and then this one over here is for play, as it were, can be helpful. Then they're not confused. Why is this so boring? It's not a YouTube. And so that can be useful too. But I mean, I'm sure there are other ideas.
Yeah, the only thing I would add on that is, to make sure that you're taking advantage of the break times and helping your kids take advantage of those break times that are provided. Typically, school districts build in those break times. So making sure, your kid is up and moving, or not just playing another game on a different screen, that you're connecting that way, eating a healthy snack or getting some water, but taking advantage of those break times that are provided by most teachers through e-learning. And in terms of the, therapy in person and via video, I think that I've seen great, I've been a great support in terms of being, on video in the home. I think it's a nice gift for families to be able to understand how to listen to coaching and support their children in a variety of different routines. I think it's been a wonderful, wonderful process.
So there was another question that was for Dr. Smith specifically, and the question was just, are there concerns about how the increased screen time as a result of remote learning and extended time at home, if families are working, how would that impact school-age children? Are there concerns around that?
Yeah, this has been an area of intense discussions in the AAP and on the committees that I'm on. And our general impression right now, and this is collected over the last several months, has been that children have done better than we expected. That resilience that I mentioned before, kids are tough and kids adapt. And the experience hasn't been as difficult and as miserable this semester as it was when this all happened without kind of any planning. That I think the spring was a very difficult experience for everybody, educators, children, parents. And I think that given the time and the time over the summer that most districts used to plan for this upcoming school year, remote, hybrid, in-person, whatever, that there was a lot of good work that was done in most districts that I've encountered. And I think kids are in better shape now than they were in the spring. I do think that the question mentioned the lack of mobility and the being inside all the time. I think that is the harder part in some ways, especially I worry as we're going into the winter months. Here in Chicago, people will be stuck inside, and parts of the spring were pretty dreary, and I think that's hard. And I think just the physically being in one place at one time is a hard part. I liked what Vicki said earlier, use every opportunity you can to move around and to do physical things. I do think that that's important. But I would also go back to the rule I first said. This is an odd time in history, and we just have to recognize that. And if things aren't exactly the way we want them, and kids are spending more time on the screen than we would another period of history would want them to, partly we just have to have reasonable expectations to ourselves, to them.
Right.
I had a family who said, Dr. Smith, we occasionally just don't go to school. We shut it all off and we go for a walk if it's a sunny day. And I said, perfectly fine by me.
Yeah.
You can play hooky occasionally. And don't tell the school I said that. But I think that we all have to cope in the ways that we do. And so I encourage families to trust themselves and their hearts.
Thank you very much for that. There was another question that was sent asking if school districts should be providing 3 to 5-year-old developmental evaluations and services during the pandemic. And second to that, what can we do if we believe our child needs services, but our school district is fully remote?
Well, as was mentioned at the beginning, we are doing assessments. I'm in more than one site doing in-person assessments, and definitely think that if someone's worried about their child and their development, they should be seen. If the school is unable to provide that, then there's service providers that can, either clinics, developmental pediatricians across the city, not just at Chicago or at Easterseals. There's many of us, and we can certainly put people in contact with them. But I definitely wouldn't sit on it. And I definitely, if a family is worried about something, I think we should move it forward. I do think that schools do have an obligation to evaluate children, to do it in the safest possible way, safe for themselves and for the children. But I think now we know enough about the virus and about safe practices that doing in-person assessments don't have to be dangerous, even for children who are not masked. We have protocols now. And I think definitely children should be assessed, and either in our clinic at Easterseals or other places. I think the simple answer is yes.
Yeah, and I agree. And in terms of, working with the school district, sometimes I think it does take, a phone call or two, or an email, or an attempt to kind of connect with somebody else if your first contact isn't working. Just knowing that most people are still, working remotely, and that sometimes you just need to be patient and try again if the school district isn't getting back to you, because typically they're trying to, screen and get those children the services that they need.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any other questions? I don't see any more questions in the chat. Okay, well, here's another one. Hold on. Sorry, my eyes are not that great anymore. The chat's small. What can human service providers of all types do to help Easterseals achieve its mission for child development? Theresa, I'm going to throw that one right to you because that's a perfect one for you.
Great, thanks, Maureen. You know, I think we talked about a lot of things tonight, and one of the most important things is just making sure that children are being screened and are going to their doctor's appointments. I know even for my kids, it's been easy to delay the doctor's appointment, and my kids are older and have had services for a lot of years and are still getting services through teletherapy through Easterseals, which is working out incredibly well for them. So I think really it's just educating families and parents and making sure that they're checking in on their child's development. We want to make sure that kids are doing the best that they can. Peter and Vicki talked about, making sure that your children are active. It's a challenging time with families working and yet with remote opportunities, taking advantage of those breaks is really key. And I think overall, just making sure that you're talking to families, and if families are concerned, having them just give us a call. There are plenty of people both working on site and remote that can answer an email, answer a Facebook post, answer a phone call. And if there's any hesitation or you just want to check in, they're not sure, they just would like a check in. Vicki mentioned we're offering free screenings. That's a great way to relieve parents' anxieties. We all have enough anxiety going on that if a parent is feeling uneasy, do a check-in. Go talk to us and see Vicki and get a free screening that just can help maybe relieve that one anxiety that is hanging out there. So I think it's just really encouraging families to take advantages of the services that are there for them. And again, whether it's remote, in person, through social media and email, we've got therapists working nonstop. So we're pleased that the mix of teletherapy and in-person sessions has worked really well. And we have openings so that we can see kids who maybe are new or just want to check in. So in short, just make sure that you're encouraging families to reach out and not to hesitate, that now is the time, and we're here, and the free screenings are a huge benefit that we're able to offer during this time of COVID crisis.
Thank you, Theresa, for that. I don't see any more questions. Maybe we can give it just another moment or two if someone is typing. Okay. Well, feel free, if you have questions that you think of later, you can feel free to use this link that's on the screen right now and go ahead and ask your question. We'll be sure to get the right person to answer it if it's specific to a discipline. And I think with that, we'll close it out. Theresa, I don't know if you wanted any closing words?
Sure. I'll just, one of the things that I was thinking a little bit about as we were talking tonight is I know that one of my kids is especially affectionate. And one of the things that's been hard for him is seeing my parents or his grandparents from a distance and not being able to hug them. And so making sure that there's, if your child needs that, is in a particularly affectionate child, making sure that you're giving that physical attention. My other child could care less if he got a hug, but my youngest really needs that. And so while he can't get it from my grandparents, if I'm hugging him while he's seeing them at a distance, that really helps alleviate some of his anxiety. So that's something I think we have to keep in mind too, that we're missing for those of us who have that desire to hug and to be near somebody. You have to kind of make new ways to make that happen. So I was thinking about that a little bit as Vicki and Peter were talking. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank everybody for joining us, to thank Peter and Vicki and Maureen for your time. We really appreciate it. We are here, we are open and ready to meet your needs, however small or big they might be. And I think that Peter and Vicki both talked about this too, is just showing yourself some grace and realizing that life is not going to be perfect for a little while, and good enough is good enough. And that's, I think, can be helpful for our kids to see too. If we're responding that way, then they're going to be a little more at ease and feeling like they have to meet these high expectations. And I think that's incredibly important for our social emotional health for all of us right now. And if we're showing that, our kids are seeing it, and that will help them as well. So reach out if you're interested, and we're happy to help in any way we can. So thanks again, Maureen and Peter and Vicki. We appreciate everything you do for us every day, and glad you could join us tonight.
Thank you.
Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you all.